Jabari right down the middle of the paint for the stuff.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the All Things Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Vic Lopez, as always, and today we're going to do a detailed zoom in on the Houston Rockets. There's going to be a lot of data on this one, similar to the Orlando Magic one. If you guys enjoyed that one got a lot of love, and so I decided to structure this Rockets pod the same way. So this one's going to have, like I said, game clips as I go through talking about these players. We're going to do team data and player data, how this whole KD trade makes sense for the Rockets. How does he fit with them from a data perspective, from a theoretical standpoint, right? I'm going to get into that as well. There's going to be some Jabari Smith Jr. talk, Thompson, Alperen Sengun, VanVleet. There's going to be some Tari Eason talk. There's going to be some Whitmore stuff and Shepard stuff. And there's also going to be quite a bit of information in terms of data and why this is just a no-brainer decision for the Rockets. So what you guys are looking at right now is a usage rate chart last season, and this is post All-Star, and I filtered it in descending order from most minutes played. So you're looking at Jaylen Green all the way at the top, usage rate, right? 26.7%. As it trickles down, it's Sengun, then it's Dillon Brooks, Jabari Smith. And once you get to those guys, you start to already see normal things, right? That's just how the distribution goes. Looking at this alone, you see that Dillon Brooks and Jaylen Green, two of the guys that were in that trade for KD, on the top three and the highest in usage rate, right? And a lot of the times throughout their offense, right, when they would struggle to get some buckets, it was Dillon Brooks, dribble, kind of sometimes post guys up in the mid-range, get to some fadeaways, right? Maybe heat checking, trying to get to the rim. Jaylen Green, we know what he looks like out there. So naturally, these two guys obviously get moved out of the way. And what happens on every team is now we get a different type of distribution on usage on a team. And that's kind of the next thing that I wanted to talk about here. So shot distribution last season for the Houston Rockets. We have Jaylen Green all the way at the top with 17.5 field goal attempts per game. Now, when I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, normal, right? He's the guy on the team, potentially, right? He just got that rookie max extension next to Sengun. You would think those are the two guys that should get the most field goal attempts, the most run time with the ball in their hands, right? So nothing crazy there. Now, obviously you see VanVleet, Brooks, Thompson, and Jabari, right? Like Jabari, really just a guy that he gets it how he can find it, right? And that was something that worried me with the Jabari Smith Jr. draft pick early on in the draft. Even though I was a huge fan of Jabari, and I still am, I think he's a victim of circumstances right now, but that should change, hopefully, and I'll talk more about Jabari Smith Jr. later on this pod. We got a whole section on him. Looking at the Jaylen Green field goal attempts, right? So I went to his totals. I'm like, all right, let's see how many shots this guy put up this season. He's at 1,437 field goal attempts. But what does that really mean if I don't really give you everyone else in the league, right? Like if you can't put that into context, and I did that, right? So I went to field goal attempt leaders in the NBA last season, and at the top, I mean, you can guess the guys at the top, right? It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it's Anthony Edwards, you got Jason Tatum, Cade Cunningham, right? A guy that has the ball a ton, though he is a maestro with the ball, right? I love watching Cade Cunningham. And then right under Cade Cunningham is Jaylen Green with those 1,437 field goal attempts. Now, this was a 52-win team with Jaylen Green putting up that amount of shots, right? And now I decided, I was like, you know what? This is a crazy number, right? To see Jaylen Green above so many other guys. I mean, to see him ahead of Jalen Brunson was something that I was not expecting to see. So I did a little filter here, right? 1,200 or more field goal attempts. I wanted to get like a nice little, right? I wanted to get a big net, but not too big of a net to make it ridiculous. So I was going to do 1,000. Then I went to 1,200. So there were 19 players in the NBA that took 1,200 or more field goal attempts. On that list of 19 players, in terms of field goal percentage, Jaylen Green was 17th at 42.3%. Now, who are the other two guys under him? Right? Because you're thinking, man, Jaylen Green is a hyper inefficient player. Who are those two guys underneath him, and why are they taking so many damn shots? So I'm looking at Trae Young, at 18th, right? He's got that 41.1% field goal. And then you're looking at James Harden, 19th, right? Now, looking at these three guys, right? Obviously, you're thinking, all right, well, Jaylen Green's doing better than them. But you gotta really look at what it is that James Harden and Trae Young do night to night, right? And one is they man the offense, right? Like they make decisions. These guys are the better playmakers of the league. So you're looking at James Harden. Yeah, he's not doing good field goal percentage wise or 3-point percentage wise, but he had to really carry the load around a team that didn't have Kawhi Leonard for a big chunk of the season. And it also helped that he was on one of the best defenses in the league, similar to Jaylen Green, right? So like when I'm looking at James Harden and Trae Young, 24 points, 11 assists, 87% from the free throw line, and he gets to the free throw line, right? 7.4 free throw attempts a game. You're looking at James Harden, 22.8 points, 8.7 assists, the 87% from the free throw, and the 7.3 free throw attempts per game. So these two guys get to the free throw line at will. And I went to Jaylen Green, right? Because one thing I always remember being an issue with Jaylen Green is, can he get to the free throw line? This has been a question since he was on the G League Ignite. Like this was a guy that we knew. I'm still a fan of Jaylen Green, by the way. I have been really hard on him recently, but it's because I have the bar for Jaylen Green for me when I saw him coming into this draft, because I watched him at the G League Ignite, the bar was here for me, like super high for Jaylen Green. I was like, this dude, if he can just get to his spots and knock down shots consistently and actually finish around the rim and draw fouls and get to the free throw line, he is going to be one of the better players in the NBA, right? And it's the reason he went second overall in the draft. Right now, the complaints around, if you go online, right, like the complaints are, well, he doesn't get foul calls. He doesn't get the superstar whistle. That's going to come with time. You could say that and be convinced of that, but at the end of the day, when going into the draft, one of the concerns around the league about a player are still here, like 3 to 4 seasons in. How many seasons has this guy played? Let me see, because I'm so mad I don't even have that right now. Okay, so Jaylen Green's going into year 5. We're still seeing him finish a season with 4.1 free throw attempts. This is a dude that he can just get downhill. No one can stay in front of him, but it's when he gets to that rim that guys bump him and he's just not strong enough yet, right? And he has put on muscle over time, which is what happens as you get older, as you're around obviously a training regimen in the NBA, but it is something that he still lacks. And you honestly watching him play, yes, there are a lot of times where you're like, where's the foul call? Why isn't he getting these foul calls? But either way, 4 free throw attempts from such a high field goal attempt guy, and how aggressive he is and how often he drives, you would think that he could get more free throws. So obviously, drawing free throws, playmaking, right? Getting those assists, finding other ways to get your team going. Those are the two other things that Trae Young and James Harden do at an elite level, right? And that's why you see a guy like James Harden and Trae Young down there on that list, and you still see the massive gap between those two guys and Jaylen Green. Now, obviously, there has to be a gap. James Harden is basically on his way out, right? I mean, this guy is on the older side of his career, right? Trae Young is right smacked in his prime. So, these are two guys that are already, they're already established stars. So you could obviously argue that, but, playmaking, that's something that those two guys that's where they separate themselves with Jaylen Green. I want to get to an interesting team stat thing with these Houston Rockets, because Kevin Durant's coming to a team that was 5th in mid-range field goal attempts, which is very interesting to me, even though obviously you can think of it, right? You see Jaylen Green, he pulls up sometimes from the mid-range. Alperen Sengun, he loves that like paint area outside of the restricted area where he'll try those weird looking floaters that they go in, those weird hook shots, the jump shots around like 15 foot around and stuff like that. So it makes sense. However, they were 24th in field goal percentage in the mid-range, 39.6% as a team. That is horrific stuff. Now, when I'm looking at mid-range field goal percentage from KD, okay, I put a filter because you know how it is. If you don't put any filters on attempts, you're going to get some ridiculous names in there that don't make sense. So I put 2 minimum field goal attempts per game in the mid-range. No surprise, KD is number 1 at 53.1%. Now, this list holds 47 players, okay, that take 2 mid-range field goal attempts per game, 2 or more. Can you guess who's last on this list? It's Jaylen Green. Surprisingly, I don't want to make this about Jaylen Green, but when I'm going through this, I look at all the way at the bottom of this sheet and I'm like, holy Jaylen Green at the bottom of this list all the way down, and then obviously KD all the way up. So it's like that substitution of players is incredible from a statistical standpoint alone. We know about the age stuff. I'm not getting into that part of this pod. I'm talking strictly what KD is right now from a productive standpoint, right? Jaylen Green, 36.2% from the mid-range. So Rockets, the questions I have for the Rockets in terms of, you know, with the KD fit and all this, 3-point shooting, right? The Rockets were 21st in 3-point percentage, 35.3%. Now, Kevin Durant is not going to solve this problem alone. He is going to need some help. And when you're a team that doesn't shoot it well and you have one guy that is just the ultimate threat as a shooter, teams are going to overload and challenge the lesser shooters or the non-shooters to beat you. So obviously we're looking at a Reed Shepard, a Fred VanVleet, who, you know, very streaky shooter. Maybe he's going to be expected less of now because obviously KD is going to take a nice little load off of him. So that'll be interesting to see. You know, maybe VanVleet becomes a better shooter because he's got better looks now. You know, like I said, Reed Shepard, Jabari Smith Jr. These are guys that are going to have to help. And I do have a section for each of these guys with game clips, so don't worry. KD, 43% from 3, right? So we know he's elite. Now, we look at the 21st in 3-point percentage, right, as a team. Now, Jaylen Green led the team with 661 3-pointers attempted, and he shot it at 35.4%. So that's gone now, okay? That insanely high volume from a bad shooter is gone, okay? So you could expect that part of it alone to already make them a better shooting team, potentially, right? Everything is potentially. Now, this means naturally, like I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a little more of a fair distribution amongst guys that shoot it better, right? And guys that aren't just standing around, you know, hoping that they get the ball or not. Kevin Durant is a very team-oriented player. He's a very plug-and-play kind of guy. So KD is coming to a team that has something unique that I don't think he has experienced in his career. He's going into a team that has some serious interior gravity from a center, right? Like a center with the skill set of Alperen Sengun. KD has not played alongside someone like that at the 5. And you could say, well, it hasn't really been that important to his success. And you could obviously agree with that take, right? He was on those stacked Warriors. He was on the Thunder where he still made the finals. He obviously was on the Brooklyn Nets where, you know, we know how close he came, even though, you know, he had teammates that were injured. We know that whole story. But, you know, he has never played with a center as skilled as Sengun. So having Sengun's gravity on the interior and him being such a pass-first guy, which I'm going to get to him as well later on in this video, it really makes the KD Sengun dynamic incredibly interesting. This is a guy that in no space, and I'm talking about Sengun, he was able to just cook in the post. And that's with help defense digging at him. It's with them showing and staying on him and over helping and forcing a Jaylen Green 3 or forcing a streaky Fred VanVleet, forcing an Amen Thompson corner 3, right? Like that was something that Sengun had to face night to night. And he was doing it no problem. I mean, I'm going to get into the scoring part of Sengun because like I said, I have those clips. So he is going into a team that was first in rebounds and also first in offensive rebounds. The Suns were 25th in that regard. They were first in second chance points, right? The Suns were 26th in second chance points. This means KD is going to get a lot more looks. Potentially, right? We're talking about a team that really gets after it on the offensive boards. When we talk about those Steven Adams and Sengun double big lineups, which were sneaky good, I think people, unless you're a Rockets fan or like just a genuine NBA fan, you're probably not aware of that two-man lineup that was very interesting, and it was working really well for the Rockets. And their ability to just go and get some offensive boards, that's going to help KD get second looks, third looks, high quality shots, open threes, right? Because guys are crashing the boards and it's a scramble situation for an opposing defense. So we're looking at points in the paint, right? 7th in points in the paint for the Rockets last season. The Suns were 29th. And fast break points, right? This is a team that if they get a turnover, they're going the other way. If they get a rebound or they get a block, they're going the other way. And it's Alperen Thompson, full speed ahead. It's Jaylen Green, full speed ahead. And obviously, he's not going to be on this team, but it's just, Alperen Thompson getting out and running. Jabari Smith Jr., when he's out there, the pace is fast, right? Like, we know that. You got Cam Whitmore also on that bench, and I'm going to talk about him as well. You've got some athletes around you if you're Kevin Durant, right? And the Suns were 28th in fast break points. So, like, all of the things that the Suns could not do, and by the way, it's a long list of that, the Rockets are doing at an elite level. So, obviously there's no Dylan Brooks, no Jaylen Green, so you can't expect the same thing, but you can pretty much expect them to still be a great defensive team. You can expect them to still be a great rebounding team, a great post-up team, a good fast break team, second chance point team, still a paint scoring team, right? Because of Sengun alone, on top of the fact that you have Alperen Thompson just attacking the rim with no fear. We're adding KD into this. And if we're looking at KD's shot profile from an isolation perspective, right? 2 field goal attempt minimum filter here. He was tied with De'Aaron Fox, number 1 in points per possession at 1.16, which is just hyper elite stuff as an isolation scorer. KD was also number 1 in field goal percentage at 55.8. And again, it's a 2 field goal attempt minimum on those isolation scorers. So this is a dude that we know is just one of the best isolation scorers of all time. And the Rockets did not have that, right? Their highest isolation scorer was Jaylen Green, and he is not sniffing a 1 point per possession, right? So it's like, and with the efficiency that Jaylen Green was shooting with, the inefficiency rather, it's just night and day who they have throwing the ball to in an isolation situation. Go get me a bucket. KD, 44.4% unassisted field goals made, right? The percentage of his field goals made. Jaylen Green, man, 63.2% of his made field goals were unassisted. This was a guy that just give me the ball and I'm going to go get a bucket on my own. And he did it with hyper inefficiency. It was such an opposite from KD, right? This guy is going to do more with less. And that's going to help Jabari Smith Jr. That's going to help Fred VanVleet. It's going to help Sengun, even though he doesn't need much help. It's going to help the others. Alperen Thompson, he's going to help get others going, right? Because if help shows, KD's kicking it, right? He is going to play within an offense. Like I mentioned earlier, he's a plug and play guy. So KD's just going to fit like a glove on this team. Now, my theory, how does this look on the court? I'm expecting to see a starting lineup of VanVleet, Alperen Thompson, KD, Jabari Smith Jr., and Alperen Sengun. I think that's going to be the standard lineup. We're obviously going to see it mixed in. There's going to be some Steven Adams, Sengun lineups. Obviously, you're going to see the Tari twins playing together. You got to play those guys together in bursts. If Tari Eason improves as a shooter, that's that slot that's going to be very interesting to me, because Tari Eason plays an intense level of defense. And I have a whole section on Tari Eason here, but I do think that that would be the standard starting lineup. At least just off the top of my head, that's just what I expect to see, right? I expect to see the Fred VanVleet and Sengun pick and rolls, right? That action alone was doing a ton of the heavy lifting for this team. It got a lot of things going. It got all the dominoes falling. So obviously we have that standard pick and roll that the Rockets are very comfortable with. They're very familiar with. You got Jabari Smith Jr., whether you plan him on the strong side, wherever that side pick and roll is happening, or if it's happening in the middle of the floor, or you can have him just sit on the weak side, space the floor out. You got KD on either side of that pick and roll action. Maybe you plan him on the weak side to kind of like force a lot more action towards one side of the floor, and you make that one guy make a tough decision as to, do I help on Sengun catching it on a roll, like where he's in the short roll, and now Sengun's going to find KD on a skip pass? Or do you play KD in the dunker spot? Or do you play him, obviously, like on that same side action of the pick and roll, and then you could just have Jabari, like I said, you put him on that weak side corner? I mean, there's going to be a lot of optionality when you have lanky, just perimeter shooting duo in Jabari Smith Jr. and KD. Now, defensively for the opposing team, obviously we're going to see similar things. Guys are going to cheat off of Alperen Thompson. They're going to cheat off of Sengun if, the action is happening elsewhere, and they're going to plug wherever they see fit and just kind of cheat. Late close out on Jabari Smith. Maybe they see, like, what does his shot look like tonight? They're going to late close out on him. I mean, they're not going to close out on a man at all. I mean, you're going to see that as well. But Alperen Thompson is not a guy that just stands around in space and just waits for a catch and shoot, right? Like, he is not that kind of player. And that is the stat that I want to throw at you guys right now. And if you're a Rockets fan, you're probably already aware of this statistic. Alperen Thompson is shooting 72% in the restricted area. So I was like, okay, that sounds like a center type of percentage in the restricted area. Let me do a 5 field goal attempt filter, right? Like minimum. Guys in the league that take 5 or more field goals at the restricted area. And here's the list, as you can see. If you're looking through this list, it's Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Rudy Gobert, Giannis, LeBron, Daniel Gafford, Jakob Poeltl, Walker Kessler, Jalen Duren, Anthony Davis, and then right there, just outside of the top 10, which is all big men, and obviously LeBron, Alperen Thompson, right there with that 72%, a sickening, just elite percentage in the restricted area. Not to mention, this is a guy that plays guard for them, right? 6'7", big guard, right? And look, man, like, here is where I want to talk about Alperen Thompson, because this is a dude coming into the draft. The biggest question mark is the shot, and that continues to be the case. It's going to continue to be the case until he's able to kind of figure things out. We could talk about the shooting all we want, but this guy knows how to play basketball. At the end of the day, if you're not going to shoot the ball well, you have to find ways to help your team. And in a tier list of players that are able to do that as non-shooters, Alperen Thompson has got to be like in the top 5, right? Like, just as a role player that can't shoot the ball from 3 yet, and a very impactful one still on offense. And how does Alperen Thompson do it? Well, he's got obviously the freak athleticism, which is just sickening to watch. I mean, sometimes you watch and you're like, is this AI? Like, is this real? Is this a real video right now? Like, is Alperen Thompson really running this fast? Is he really getting up in the air that high? Some of the stuff that he does is just, it's shocking, And look, the intensity, the energy, the desire to get those loose balls, the rebounds, the box outs, just the extra effort, the second effort, the third effort. Like, guys guarding Alperen Thompson, they're always going to have a foot in the paint, right? Like, it's just what's going to happen. They're going to have their feet in the paint if Alperen Thompson is, at the three-point line. That's just how it's going to look. And Alperen Thompson is like, all right, well, the second you leave him, right, or you lose sight of him, because here's the thing, you can play off of him if he's at the three-point line, but you got to keep him in your line of sight, because the second your head is turned, the second you overhelp, just a split moment where you are not paying attention to Alperen Thompson, he's at the rim. And guess who is able to make that pass in an instant when he's available? It's Alperen Sengun in the middle of the floor, or on the side, or at the top of the key. Anywhere Sengun is at, he is going to make that pass. And Alperen Thompson's going to catch that thing off the rim. And as great of a passer as Sengun is, and the incredible touch that he has, it doesn't take a great passer to get Alperen Thompson to catch it off the rim. I mean, this guy, I could throw a pass from anywhere on the floor, and he's going to make me look good. Imagine having Alperen Sengun as your passer, and we saw it all year. Like, when Sengun's posting up in the paint, Alperen Thompson's helper is going to show, and in that second where the helper shows just a little too much and he loses that positioning under the rim, it's an Alperen Thompson lob. It's like the easiest look for Alperen Thompson. Dump off passes, if he's chilling in the dunker, he is a threat in the dunker spot. He is one of the best at doing this, and he is only, in his 3rd season now, coming into his 3rd? incredible stuff from this guy, man. And if you're interested in looking at like some of his playmaking, like this guy, he playmakes via hustle. It's such a unique skill set that he has. He turns his hustle into assists, into playmaking. Like you'll see, like he'll fight for a rebound and it'll take a couple of tries and he's up there before everyone else twice, 3 times, catches it, he's falling out of bounds in midair, he just whips it up to an open 3-point shooter. And unfortunately, for the most part, it was a missed shot, but he is going to get that ball to a shooter. Amen Thompson is a special player, and I love watching him play. Now, if you're interested in Amen Thompson, there is a very strong game for him that I call it the star game. Like this was the game, in my opinion, after kind of taking the time to go back and see his performances on a stat sheet, like on a long game log, and I went back and I see a lot of good performances. I decided to go and watch one that they had against the Cavs, and this was a January 25th game that I encourage you guys to watch. Now, they won it 135-131, and this was Amen Thompson's stat sheet. 23 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. He's unstoppable. I mean, he's like Evan Mobley, who? Defensive Player of the Year, who? I'm at the rim every time. You're near me, I'm finishing around you. I mean, this dude, nobody could stop this guy in this game. And you could just see it over and over and over again. This was a phenomenal game from Amen Thompson. There's also a 33-point game against the Celtics that he had, and you could probably point to that one as a more impressive one. I just happen to like the games where he's doing a little bit of everything, and I feel like the Cavs one is a nice example of that. He's getting the rebounds, the playmaking, just looks incredible, man. And watching this guy in the open floor in transition, there can't be more than like 8 players or 9, maybe 10 players in the league that I would rather see in transition more than Amen Thompson. I mean, that's how I feel about him, and that's just my opinion. Let's get to the Fred VanVleet part of this, right? This is gonna be VanVleet's playground. And I went back and rewatched some Rockets games and went back to see like some of his good performances and things like that. And I'm watching this guy, and he just, every time that I've gone like months or weeks without putting some locked in eyes on Fred VanVleet possessions, I forget the craftiness of this guy. This man is incredibly creative with the way that he creates space for himself off the dribble, with the way he finds windows to make passes, with the way he just gets to the rim, the way he gets to his shots. He is just such a professional NBA point guard. Like, he is as traditional of a point as it gets in this modern era of basketball, right? Like, he just understands his personnel, right? And just looking at these clips, like attacking a closeout, he uses his eyes to make the help defender go to Amen Thompson under the rim, because obviously that's the biggest threat in the paint. And he's like looking in that direction, but then he uses that late pass, which is a skip pass to the corner, and it goes to Dylan Brooks. And it's just cash money. And that is like I'm not going to compare him to Luka Doncic, okay? But those are the kind of skip passes that Luka makes, that all the great passers make, where they're after a pick and roll or after they attack a defender and they get by them, they're not even worried about the on-ball defender. They're looking at all the help defense, and they're looking at ways to manipulate that help defense with their eyes. And Fred VanVleet does this all the damn time. So, there's another play where, Steven Adams sets a hard screen. This guy sets some of the best screens in basketball, by the way. And Fred VanVleet gets downhill. He gets to this in and out move. He brings it back out in such a calm manner. Then he reattacks. There's like 3 people on him at this point. And then it's kind of like a no-look dime to Steven Adams right at the rim. And it's a finish right there. That was just a great play and just a great example of his craftiness and just his ability to see the floor in chaos with all those defenders around him. And this is a small guard, and he's just very pesky on defense. Like, this is a guy, he gets the hand on a ball if you're loose with it. In the chaos, he dives for the balls, he takes charges, he plays hard, he'll pick you up full court. He plays so hard, and he does all the little things. He is really a big, impactful player on this team. And look, if you're interested in a big VanVleet game, I went back and I found another Cavs game, right? This was, I think, the second Cavs game. I could be wrong about that one, but they beat the Cavs 109-108, and this was a January 22nd game. And he went off, dude. 26 points, 8 of 15 from the field. He was 7 for 12 from 3. He had 6 turnovers, but obviously just deciding that this was going to be the game where he just takes over. He hits back-to-back huge threes in just the most clutch time. We've seen VanVleet be incredibly clutch. This game was all that. And he had those 5 assists as well. He actually tied Darius Garland for the most points in this game. 26 apiece, right? 26 for him, 26 for Garland. So this is also a guy that can just light you up on his own, you know? So very, very capable point guard right next to Kevin Durant, who, by the way, I don't know how many, like, obviously he's had Westbrook and, you know, he's had some other great guards next to him, Kyrie, you know, Fred VanVleet on the lower tier of those guys when you're considering those big names, but he is very capable of making this work like a championship team. So, you know, definitely very interesting. Now, let's get to the Alperen Sengun part. And this is kind of the shorter part, clip-wise, because we know everything there is to know about Alperen Sengun. Everyone talks about his passing ability, you know, his ability to post up and look for his team first mentality. The second he catches a pass, he's looking up, he's seeing who's available first before he decides to cook, and all of those are fair things to think about first when you think about Sengun. Now, I want to talk about Sengun as a scorer. Okay, not something you hear a lot about, in my opinion. I think most people just talk about him as a passer. There's a December 27th game where it's against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And granted, they lost 113-112, but this was a game where Sengun is like, you know what? Rudy Gobert, whoever else, I'm going to score tonight. And 1 assist in this game, 38 points, 12 rebounds on 16 of 25 from the field. This dude was torching Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is a rim protector at the elite level, right? Just the highest level of a rim protector as you can get from a center. And obviously he's won multiple Defensive Player of the Years. People don't like it. It is what it is. What he does best is protect the rim, particularly in the post. This is a post-up center in Alperen Sengun, who happens to stretch it a little bit, just not too much. Like at the three-point line, he definitely doesn't do that yet. But he's cooking in the post. He's at the three-point line. He's putting the ball down. He's taking a screen from Fred VanVleet, and he's just putting the ball down, getting to the rim. I mean, if you want to see him cook only and not get assists, this is the game for you with those 38 points. Incredible stuff from Alperen Sengun. And look, when I talk about Sengun in the context of being aggressive, offensively speaking, and not looking to pass, he's going to have some much better space with Kevin Durant next to him, right? And that's going to be a very interesting dynamic. Watching KD come off of pin downs, just any off-ball screens, and coming off of handoffs with Sengun, where Sengun can Sengun is faking a handoff with a Fred VanVleet, and he's getting to the rim with ease. Can you imagine a Sengun handoff where he fakes it because it's KD? Who is not going to overshow on a KD handoff? And if they don't overshow, and Sengun might miss him on that handoff, right? Like maybe he doesn't trust it, and then he could throw it ahead to KD, who's basically 7 feet. And then KD's at the rim, finishing with ease. I mean, these two guys are going to be so fun to watch. It's different when you have a center that can play, make, and score out of the post, because all you need is cutters, shooters, and just guys that can help defend around him, right? Like that's going to help a lot. And I think that's just... You've seen the model with Jokic, and he's not a Jokic, but he is a guy that has put together some very eye-popping games that make you think this has to be our center of the future. Now, Jabari Smith Jr., okay, we're getting to his clips. There's a November game against the Clippers, if you're interested in that. 28 points, 11 rebounds. He's 11 for 17 from the field. He's 5 for 8 from 3, okay? I counted his dribbles in this game. I hope I'm right. You know, I hope I'm not off by a dribble. In those 11 made field goal attempts where he got those 27 points, I hope I got that right. 8 dribbles. A guy that can just catch and shoot. 1 dribble fadeaway. 1 dribble head fake. Maybe it's like a mid-range pull-up. 1 dribble mid-range pull-up. 2 dribble mid-range pull-ups. It's very, and he doesn't do it with the efficiency of a Kevin Durant. But if he is going to learn from anyone at doing that at a higher level, it's KD. He is going to help Jabari Smith Jr. And if you're a Rockets fan, you're certainly hoping for that. And if KD leaves and this doesn't end up in a championship, obviously the move is a failure. But if that ends up pushing Jabari Smith Jr.'s ceiling because of what he could have learned from KD, then I think you win regardless. I think that's a win in and of itself, right? So that's an interesting part of this. So one last thing about this Jabari Smith thing. This needs to be the year that the shooting takes a leap. You know, I'm looking at the last 3 seasons so far. 30.7% from 3, 36% from 3, 35.4 this season. He injured his hand. He's had some ankle injuries. He played 57 games, so he was in and out of lineups. I usually don't put a lot of stock in a bad shooting season for a player when he's coming in and out of injuries. Either way, the percentages are what they are. And when he was coming out of college, and I was a fan and I still am, this was, oh my God, 40% three-point shooter, 6'10", whatever the height was, at amazing size. This guy could be the #1 overall pick. He shoots the blood out of the ball, and he comes into this, and in the summer league, he wasn't shooting it well. He had like a great, it's really hard for me to remember at this point, but I remember the shooting being underwhelming in summer league. Right? Then he had that second summer league where he looked a lot better. Obviously, that's what you expect and it's what you hope. But you're looking at the shooting and it still hasn't really, you know, it's had its flashes in games where you're like, there he is, right? There's Jabari Smith, right? Like there is the guy that we drafted. It's the nobody can get to this shot. Once I rise up, I don't see anyone. And I'm making them. And I'm getting to the rim, and I'm maybe blocking a shot here and there, and I'm getting deflections. I'm using my length, using my wingspan, using my quick feet, you know. I mean, Jabari moves well, right? The handle is something that I want to see improve more as well. That was a knock on him in the draft too. So his leap this season, if there's no Jaylen Green usage, there's no Dylan Brooks usage, and Kevin Durant is more of a team player, even though he's going to have some high usage naturally. But he is a guy that gets off the ball if he has to, and he plays within a system. This could be a very great season for Jabari Smith Jr. I'm expecting a season high from 3-point percent, a career high from his 3-point percentage. I really am. You know, so I really hope for that, because that's going to really help determine how far this Rockets team can go. Because then now you still have that lengthy duo in Durant and Jabari Smith Jr. from a two-way standpoint. You still have Sengun, who's improving as a defender. He's looked a lot better. And if you're starting Amen Thompson, shooting is going to be something that you're going to need out of Jabari, right? Because if Jabari's not hitting, man, and we know Amen Thompson's not going to be hitting anytime soon, unless he makes an insane jump, it's going to be, you know, very, very hard to kind of see the spacing around Durant, right? If Jabari's struggling, Amen Thompson, we know he's not going to shoot it well in general from 3, you know, and then Fred VanVleet, right? Like we can maybe count on him, you know, and then you're looking at a Reed Shepard. Hopefully he gets more playing time. You would expect that this season. Now, let's talk about Tari Eason. Okay, there is a Clippers game, the same one as the Jabari game, by the way, just by coincidence, where he is just absolutely cooking. Now, coming out of college, Tari Eason, I was like, and I have older pods on like Spotify, where it's audio only, talking about Tari Eason when he got picked up by the Rockets. And I was like, this guy has the potential to be a steal. And yes, he's the 17th pick. So can you consider a 17th pick a steal? I think you can, because there wasn't a lot of talk around Tari Eason. At least I didn't feel that way. I saw him in Summer League, and I'm like, who the hell did the Rockets just take here? Like, this guy is awesome. This guy is going to be an absolute steal. Multi-positional defensive player, multi-positional offensive player. I've seen him in transition, the behind the back dribble moves. He's getting by defenders. He's finishing at the rim with reverse layups. He's dunking on people. He's making threes. You know, his passing ability is there. His confidence is there. He plays extremely hard. Like every possession, his life is on the line. How do you not like a player like this? That is exactly who Tari Eason is. And at 6'8", he poses a very serious problem for opposing teams. Now, he's had injuries. He's got to stay healthy. The shot is something that's a question mark with him, but I've seen enough to believe that he is going to improve as a three-point shooter. I like his shot mechanics. That's just me. In an Amen Thompson kind of way, he is very good off the ball at cutting. Defender isn't looking, he cuts to the rim. Catches, he can finish on contact, he can make free throws. This is a guy that can do, he is honestly a quintessential Swiss Army knife, and he can do it at a very high level. I mean, he could be like a Draymond Green for these guys, and a better one, right? A better one because of his offensive potential, right? Like Draymond Green is a very limited offensive player. One, because the shot, it's like, and also, he doesn't have a crazy handle, but Draymond Green gets where he wants. So that matters, right? And defensively, you could probably argue they're damn near neck and neck, right? And if not, Tari Eason will get there. So that's interesting as well. So there's a Mavs game out there for Tari Eason if you're interested. It's in March 14th. It's a blowout. The Mavs were not good. So, take what you want out of that. But if you want to see Tari Eason unleashed against a bad team and just watch him cook, it's a 30-point game where he goes 11 of 15 from the field. He's 2 for 3 from 3. He has a steal. He has a couple blocks. If you're interested in a more competitive game and you want to see Kevin Durant at the same time, they played the Suns in February. It was February 12th. He had 25 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. He's 11 of 16 from the field with 3 of 5 from 3, and it's a 37-point Durant game as well. So, that's a nice little watch both of these guys, right, in this very close game. What was the... I don't even have the score here on my paper, but that was a very good game to watch. Now, I want to get to some other interesting factors on this team, and it's 2 more guys, right, before I end this video. And one is Reed Shepard. Okay, and I want to give a special shout out to John. I think his name is John, and he dropped an insane stat dump on Reed Shepard regarding stocks like steals and blocks, and he had some Hakeem stuff in there, and you can take a screenshot of this. I'm not going to keep it up too long, but very interesting numbers dropped by him, and I appreciated that because I was like, okay, he sees something big in Reed Shepard. And look, I am on the same boat in terms of I believe that this guy can be a massive piece to a team as long as he gets enough playing time, right? Like, this is a guy that you gotta let him play. You gotta let him figure it out. And defensively speaking, he has great hands. He has really good instincts because he has a very high IQ. The problem is he's obviously small, which we knew that problem coming into the draft, and he plays tough, but he doesn't keep guys in front of him well, right? And that's something that if you're playing under Ime Udoka, that's a big no-no, unless you're going to shoot the lights out from 3 and make the right decisions on offense, right? Like if you can offset really bad blow-bys and obvious attacks from offensive teams or from teams on offense, if you can offset that with your own offense, and then you can kind of get deflections and steals, and you get some, you fight for loose balls, and you do all this extra stuff, and you're not a complete zero defensively, he's gonna have a good career. And he's going to have a good seasons to come with the Rockets, right? He also has to shoot it well, which is something that is going to come with time, in my opinion. Now, we thought that he was going to come into the league and just light the league up from 3. That hasn't been the case, but plenty of time. I mean, this guy is, he's still so young. We can't just assume what he's going to be, right? And look, they threw him in the G League, 3 games in there. He averaged 30 points on 40% from 3. He was 9 for 9 from the free throw line. He averaged those 7.3 assists, the 2.7 steals. Look, man, he could easily be their secondary Fred VanVleet. He could be a guy that learns from VanVleet. Like, how do I keep guys in front of me, right? Because VanVleet is a very pesky on-ball defender. And he's not this elite, like, I'm getting stops. Like, I'm stopping Shea. I'm stopping Jalen Brunson. Like, he's not a guy that's going to do crazy things like that. But he is going to get his hand on the ball. He is going to be very aggressive, and he's going to get into an on-ball player's body to make him uncomfortable, right? He's going to be physical. He's going to make things very difficult. Like, he doesn't let the offensive player dictate his movement, right, as often as he can. And I'm talking about Fred VanVleet. So these are the little things that he can pass down to a Reed Shepard, right? And look, Reed Shepard, he may not reach a defensive level like VanVleet, but he could at least maybe try to get to that level if possible, right? So, that's going to be interesting. Now, if you're interested in a Reed Shepard game, I wrote one down here just looking at it, and it was a loss to the Thunder, but he actually started in this game. And it was a 137 to 128 loss, but they played against the Thunder full strength, okay? This was full starting lineup in the finals. It's Shea, it's Jalen Williams, Dort, Chet, Hartenstein. And this is what Reed did in the game. 25 points, 10 of 17 from the field. He was 3 for 7 from 3. He got those 2 steals. He got a block. He got those 5 assists. He made a couple of free throws. Really looked confident. And here's a nice little moment in the game that I recorded with my phone, so I apologize for the quality. It's basically Reed Shepard, just constant movement on and off the ball, right? He comes up the floor, he initiates the offense, right? Dumps it off to Jacques Landale. He cuts down to set a pin down for Jabari Smith Jr. Jabari takes it, curls down. There's nothing available, but Reed Shepard keeps moving, right? The Thunder switch it, so Reed is like, I'm going to keep running, keep moving. He catches a pass from Landale, which I think is a little too early of a pass in my opinion, but he catches it. He uses the Landale screen. All of a sudden, it's a nice little pick and roll between him and Landale, and he finishes at the rim around Alex Caruso, who's still kind of trying to keep up in the play. So there's a lot of things that Reed Shepard can really do. Mid-range pull-ups, catch and shoot threes. He's a great decision maker. He's a very good passer. Interesting player for sure. And I want to also talk about, before I end this episode, I want to talk about Cam Whitmore. Very talented player. His biggest problem, from everything you see online, if you watch Rockets games and you're a body language kind of guy, like me, I like to watch the body language. There are things that raise some concerns, right? And it's his attitude. That's what you read online. That's what you hear about him everywhere. That's what you kind of can see for yourself. And that could be his biggest downfall. Now, also, the question mark has been, can he make shots consistently? Because this guy's a freak athlete, and he is a fearless driver. I mean, this guy gets to the rim, and if you're there underneath the rim, he's going to lift up, and he's going to challenge you every time. I love watching this guy play. Flat out. This guy is fun to watch. Like Thompson, this guy is just at the rim, in your face. I don't care who it is. And I love that mentality. And he is so confident in his ability that maybe the Rockets are like, man, let's give it another year. Can he fix up his mentality, right? Like, dude, you're very talented. Don't get in your own way, right? And that's something that people are worried about with him. Now, shooting wise. So I pull up the post All-Star numbers. 52.8% from 3 on 36 3-pointers attempted. So not a bad sample. 82.4% from the free throw line, right? On 17 free throw attempts. So he has the touch. He's got the mechanics. I actually like how he shoots the ball. You guys can comment down below. Let me know if you don't like that, like the way he shoots, but I actually like it. The trade rumors are swirling all around him. And look, man, maybe the Rockets are like, hey, dude, there's no Jaylen Green anymore. There's no Dylan Brooks. Obviously, KD's here, so he's going to need the rock. And Thompson showed us he's a starting player in this league. So we're going to start Thompson. I mean, that's my assumption of what they're going to do. And then it's like that. To me, that's the 2 slots that are like interchangeable, that are maybe up for the taking, are the Jabari Smith slot, right? Because it's going to depend on how he plays. I really hope Jabari keeps his starting spot. I love the idea of him and KD. But you're looking at the roster and you're like, there's no Jaylen, there's no Brooks, KD's in there. So, you think about, okay, well, if Thompson's starting and if Jabari's starting, obviously KD's going to be out there and Fred VanVleet's out there. You're looking at the roster of guys next to you, and it's Tari Eason, who's most likely going to be coming off the bench unless he makes a big leap. Maybe he could take a slot in one of those starting roles. Who knows? He definitely is capable of that. So, he's going to get a lot more opportunity on this team. Now, maybe he looks back and hits him with the Josh Giddey thing, right? With what happened with OKC. And it's like, well, I see more for myself than a bench role, right? And look, man, he has shown that he has the talent to be a starter in the NBA. The talent to be a starter, right? I didn't say he's a starter caliber player right now, but he's got the talent. But can you help us, right? In a winning long-term environment, right? Giddey was in that scenario. He's like, I'm not coming off the bench on this team. This is a great team, and we may win a championship if I come off the bench. I don't see myself doing that, right? So Cam could hit him with that, and then all of a sudden, the Rockets are in a difficult situation where they've got to trade him. And I don't know what he's going to yield. Like, if they move him, I don't know what he yields in a trade, right? Maybe there's a team out there that thinks, you know what? We'll take a swing at him. We really like the talent. And maybe it's picks that the Rockets could turn into something else. Maybe it's a player that can help them right away, a player that's a little on the older side. If you're interested in a couple of those like high minutes games where he performed well, you can look at a 27-point game against the Thunder, right? It was the same game as the Shepard one. Cam Whitmore played 40 minutes in that game, okay? He had 27 points in that one. There's also a 34-point game against the Lakers on April 11th where they got blown out. It was 140 to 109. He played 37 minutes in that game. So there's plenty of runtime in there for Cam Whitmore if you want to watch a game like that where he just goes off. So this was a longer pod than expected, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys took a lot from it, or maybe you didn't. Maybe this sucked. Who knows? I fully expect the Rockets to be a contender this year. I mean, they don't make a move for KD if they don't believe it. They got 52 wins last season. They're hoping to push that to the next level. Maybe they win the same amount of games, but they're in a place where they can contend for a championship. That remains to be seen. I really like the trade. Very excited to watch this Rockets team play next year. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I will catch you guys on the next one.